So, this is In the Hunt by Irem. So this is the arcade version. It did come out on consoles about 20 years ago or so. The PlayStation and the Saturn are the ones I'm aware of. But this is the arcade version. It was actually developed by people who worked on the Metal Slug series a couple of years before Metal Slug came around. And you can see from the graphic style that there's a lot of similarities in the gameplay and the graphics, which is excellent, because we all know how great the graphics and the gameplay was on the Metal Slug games. So let's take it for a spin. Just going to go through the first level on here. Levels are quite long. It's not a fast-paced game like an average shooter. As you can see, or you will see once we get past this intro, the scrolling is done by you, so you don't have full scrolling. You can move along at your leisure. Actually, it makes for an interesting experience. It's more like some old computer game you would have had in the 80s or something, like Jetpack or something like that, where you've got a bit more of a kind of gravity feel and you're moving around with inertia. Not that there's a lot of inertia in this game in particular, but you get a bit more of a kind of realistic feeling. Now, the graphics are just fantastic. Straight away you can see, as soon as you start playing it, the detail, the kind of gritty, kind of diesel punk style, kind of dirty looking, great big hulks of metal in all the enemy ships and everything. Very attractive graphic style, just something to just fall in love with straight away. And another good point about this game is the pretty novel firing system. You've got this a head torpedo, which you've got various levels of power depending on what power-ups you get, but press the other fire button and you can drop the depth charges, which kind of slowly release from underneath your little submarine, and at the same time shoot these missiles. And even better than that, if you protrude above the top of the water level, the missiles shoot all the aeroplanes and various other things that are trying to kill you from above the water. So aside from a few ancient old submarine type arcade games from the 80s, it's a pretty novel way of doing things. So as I was saying before, the pace doesn't feel as fast as an average shooter because the scrolling's not forced at a certain speed. But that's not to say there isn't usually a million things trying to kill you at any one time, and your dodging generally feels as fast as any other kind of gameplay that you'd have in a fast scrolling shooter. So while the game kind of moves and scrolls at a slower pace, it doesn't feel like a slow game. Just love the detail. Like every single object is drawn really nicely. The splashes in the water, the way you get the trail of the air bubbles when you're firing a torpedo under the water. So much stuff going on, so much care and attention gone into the animation and everything, just like Metal Slug games. Really above and beyond the Call of Duty for a game developer. This kind of thing clearly is a labour of love. People that make these games, or used to make games like this. And anyone that loves 2D graphics is just going to love this game straight away. It's pretty hard as well. Don't expect to see any high scores from me on this particular session. The bosses kind of live up to the standard you'd expect from Metal Slug as well. Really well animated, huge bosses with a lot of character, humorous animations, multi-stage behaviour. You never know what's going to happen next. You think it's dead, and the next minute another door opens up and someone's chucking missiles at you from out of another door, that kind of thing. Pretty much exactly what you expect if you're used to the Metal Slug games. So I didn't know about this for a while. I discovered Metal Slug a long time before I found out about this. This game I discovered a few years ago. I believe, as I said, I believe it was out on the Saturn in the 90s, but I didn't have a Saturn. And here in the UK, the Saturn never really took off. We didn't get many games. I doubt that we got In the Hunt released in this country. May have done, but I doubt it. But this game was quite a big surprise. The Metal Slug games are very well known. This one not quite so much. It is getting a bit more well known now. But it was a real joy to discover this game after having discovered Metal Slug and lamenting the fact there wasn't a huge number of kind of games to compare to the Metal Slug series. When I discovered this, I was very happy. And it does match up. I would say it's equally as good as Metal Slug in terms of enjoyment and kind of craziness, animation, manic, huge sprites all over the place. This first level is pretty sedate compared to some of the later levels. There's some awesome bosses. One in particular, this giant kind of Neptune-like character who's chasing you from below. The scrolling is going in an upwards direction on that particular level, and this really brilliantly animated guy trying to climb up the side of the walls on either side to get to you while you're shooting rocks to make them land on his head. It's one of the best bosses I've ever seen. Typical Metal Slug team levels of creativity and insanity. Now, I do believe that some of the people that worked on this, and maybe Metal Slug as well, were involved in some of the older Irem games, like the classic R-Type and Image Fight, which was a good vertical scrolling shoot 'em up. It's another thing to love about this game, really. It's got a lot of heritage for kind of hardcore shoot 'em up fans. So here we go with boss number 1. As you can see, there's a current pulling me along. If I drop my depth charges, they get sucked into the front of him, which is pretty cool. So I can use them as an alternate firing method if I'm high up trying to avoid his rockets. I can still drop my depth charges into him. Yeah, it's a very enjoyable game. I've looked into the Saturn version a little bit before recording this. Apparently that's plagued by horrendous slowdown. The PlayStation 1 version that came out around the same time isn't, which is quite unusual. Usually you'd expect it to be the other way around. So I don't think it was due to the Saturn not being powerful enough, probably just bad programming. This is on M.A.M.E. This is the arcade ROM, which does have a bit of slowdown, but I don't think anywhere near as bad. Obviously that would depend on what kind of device you're running M.A.M.E. on, but this is just a simple Android box, and it doesn't really slow down much the game. A couple of times, but nothing that spoils it. Some really crazy stuff on this level too. I was intending on only doing a short bit of filming of this, but I don't want to stop playing now. I also expect to be dying with even more regularity than I was before now. There's just a hell of a lot of stuff going around the screen. But as you can see, pretty unique game. Some great destruction to be had here. We've got some underwater bridges which we can take out, watch them crumble. I think I'll just go and shoot a few helicopters. So here we are. Now, where do I go from here? There you go. How cool is that? You can shoot your way through buildings. And if you fire upwards when you're inside, there's some little bonuses in there as well. Music is not as memorable as the Metal Slug games, I would say. It's not bad. It certainly doesn't distract you, and it goes well with the gameplay, but doesn't have that kind of heavy metal vibe that the Metal Slug music has. Though it does sound like some of the sound effects were reused in Metal Slug. Yes, dying will be something that you do very frequently playing this game. To be perfectly honest, the action and the graphics are so entertaining. Any idea of actually becoming proficient or good at it just goes out the window. I'm quite happy to just keep continuing, just to enjoy these excellent graphics. Some of the later levels have some buildings which collapse in the excellent Metal Slug tradition. There's even one boss which is like a train on a bridge. You're shooting away at the bridge while the train's trundling over it, chucking missiles at you, and eventually the bridge gives way and the train collides into you off the bridge as the bridge collapses down into the water. It's just excellent, excellent stuff. I think we'll leave it there. So that's the level 2 boss that's had the best of me, and I'm not going to continue again. So yes, you can probably tell this game is highly recommended. Either get it for M.A.M.E or get it for your retro consoles, Saturn, PlayStation, if that's your thing. Thank you for watching.